QR codes is today's topic. It's something we've been doing for a few years now. It's one of the more successful things we've done, to be honest. It seems to just work. People like it. We like it because it's been bug-free ever since we introduced it. There seems to be no problems or issues with it. That said, we do need to go through some things for people who are thinking about using QR codes, aren't really sure how or what they're for. So this meeting will not take as long as the others. I'd be surprised if we go much beyond 30 to 45 minutes. So, of course, we'll start with, well, what are QRs and why do you use them? There's an example of a QR there, and you've probably seen them in lots of places in everyday life, be it on a boarding pass at the airport, or a concert ticket, or a football game ticket. You've seen them in magazine ads. In an ad in a magazine, there'll be a QR. And the idea is it's an image barcode, because that's their other names. They're also known as image barcodes or two-dimensional barcodes as well. So they go by a few names. And the idea is a QR can encode quite a bit of information. Unlike a regular barcode, which is limited by the length of the barcode, a QR code can hold a lot more information. And hence, your boarding pass QR code has information to let you get on the plane. Your concert ticket has your reservation number, etc. And the QR code that may be in an ad in a magazine usually has a website link into it. So you look at that QR with your phone, scan it with your phone, and it shoots you straight off to their site for their advertising. And in fact, you can do that now. If you've got your phone handy, grab it and just, I know with the newer iPhone and the newer iOS, you don't even need software. You just need to get your camera and point it at that QR, and your phone will decode it for you. If you do that right now on the screen, no less, it will decode that QR, and you'll see that it's been encoded with /%s and somebody's ID. So that's the idea with QRs. They are an image, a visual thing, and the way we use them is just like as I just described. For the most part, we use them with your images as a mechanism to match images to data via their unique field, which we'll get to. So, yeah, the most common use of QRs in our software is to match images to subjects. People use it either as an alternative to CapturePost, so they don't need to bring a laptop, a barcode scanner to the shoot, or people use it in conjunction with CapturePost, because CapturePost has a whole lot of other advantages that you don't get if you're just shooting nakedly to the camera. So you can use QRs with CapturePost. So predominantly their main use is to match your images to your subjects, and it does that really, really well. You can also use it to match images to folders. If you're not as common, but if you're photographing sports and you're photographing teams, again, you can use QRs to match those team photos to the folder in your job. And there are other uses, and I'm not talking about boarding passes for airplanes, but you'll see an example of putting a QR on any of your products, which may have a link to your site, or more commonly, a link to your iOS site, complete with the subject's shoot key. So all they have to do is scan that QR or hold their phone up to that QR, and they'll be shot off to iOS straight to the ordering page without them having to enter their shoot key at all, which is nice, and we'll see how to do that. So the workflow is pretty straightforward. To begin with, you just make a shoot card template in Neopack and put a QR on it, and then you print one per subject. And that's probably, I'm preaching to the converted there. You know what I'm talking about making shoot cards or camera cards. There you go. There's one there that is just a fixed size item. You can see the normal stuff on there, the @codes, @school name, @names, @folder. There's even the old-fashioned barcode down in the bottom left-hand corner. But dominating this template is the QR object on the right-hand side. It's taking up about half the screen. And you can make out also how it's been encoded. We'll talk about that a little bit more, /%s @ID. But you see there, we'll address probably the most common question Mark and I would get asked when people are starting with QRs is how big does it need to be? How big does the QR need to be? And that's not a question we can give a definitive answer to, because it's not really the size of the QR on your template that matters. It's ultimately the size of the QR in your image. We could make this shoot card as big as you like and put a huge QR code on it. But if you're photographing from 300 meters away with a wide angle lens, it's going to be tiny in your image, and that could be problematic. Conversely, the shoot card could be quite small, and this one is actually only 3 by 5 inches, so the QR on it is going to be quite small. But if you're zooming in with your camera, it takes up a bigger percentage of the image. So it's ultimately the size, the proportion of the QR in your image that counts, not the absolute size of the QR on your template. But as we're about to see, don't fret about it. The size of the QR does not have to be big. It does not have to be big. So when making the template, just make it as big as you can comfortably in the template without going crazy about it, without having to change your template, I don't think. Because as you're about to see with some sample images I'll show you, the QR does not have to be big for the system to work. So you've made your template. You can make it as a layout or an item. I've used an item so that we can print sheets, and then you distribute them one per subject and hand them out. So that's the first stage. Then with photography, you take at least one shot of each kid holding their shoot card. Simple as that. And it's normally just the first shot. Well, it's normally just the first shot, but it can be all the shots of the particular subject. So there's an example there. First kid walks up to you, holds his shoot card under his chin. And again, if you look at that whole image, the QR is actually a relatively small proportion of the whole image, and that will read fine. And again, if you hold your phone up to that screen, your phone will decode that QR for you. There's another example. Again, it's even smaller again. So sometimes people don't get the kid to hold up the shoot card. They'll get their assistant to do it, and their assistant will hold it correctly, making sure it's in the same plane as the camera. And you can see from this example, it's smaller again. You can also see that it doesn't matter. The orientation of the QR doesn't matter. There's no right way up. Of course, you don't hold it back to front, and you need to be careful to hold it at the right plane as the camera. So you don't want it at 45 degrees where it's going to be skewed to the camera. You try to hold it as best you can in the same plane as the camera. And this photographer has, because his assistant is holding it nice and flat on the clipboard, that's not an issue. The third way is people might grab the QR from the subject and pop it on their desk, and then just take a photo that way. And that has the advantage of, it's going to be nice and flat. It's going to be in the same plane as the camera. You can zoom in to fill the frame with the shoot card, so that all works fine as well. And my fear with that, of course, is that the photographer will focus on the QR, which is only a couple of feet away, then forget to refocus on the subject who might be several feet away, and of course you'll end up with blurry pictures. That's my apprehension about getting the photographer to focus on the desk, then focus on the kid, focus on the desk, and so forth. I don't know if you share that, if you share my concern. Now, I do have a question from Whitney. Can you hold it out front of your camera, maybe with the student blurred out in the background? Yep, and as Sheldon has said, that's Sheldon and Stacey have replied to say yes, that's what they do. It really doesn't matter. The subject is, for that first photo, is irrelevant. If the kid is out of focus in the background, doesn't matter at all. Some people will get the kid to hold it for all their images down low, still in the frame, knowing that when they import the images, it'll be cropped out anyway. So that's the photography side of it. I'll bring up a set of images. Let me open up a set of images. Okay, so this is a real shoot. The first photo, kid has walked up to you. In this example, the assistant is holding the QR, and you see it's at a different orientation again. So you take that shot, put the QR away, take as many more photos as you like. Okay, I think we've taken 2. Then the next kid walks up to you with their QR, repeat the process. Hold it up, take that photo, and take as many as you like after that. And you just go through the whole shoot that way. It's as simple as that in the photography. It doesn't matter what order they come to you in. They can come to you in any old order, just like in CapturePost. It doesn't really matter. There's really no need to collect the shoot cards in order, because They are part of the image now. You've taken a photo of them and they're part of the image. So the images are going to be in order. Probably no real reason to have the shoot cards in order as well, but it's not a bad habit to do so anyway. Okay, so we've printed the shoot cards, we've done the photography. All that remains for you to do is import the images. And you import the images with the appropriate options. And we'll do this in more detail when we import some images. That's all. That's really all the workflow is. It is quite a simple, trouble-free workflow. Design your shoot card with the QR, encode it correctly, which we'll come to, print one per subject, photograph them holding it for their first image, take as many more photos as you like of them, then import them, tick the right option when you import the images, and they will all be magically matched. Okay, so let's actually go ahead and do that. I will launch Neopack. Now, so we've got a job here, the data's in there, and you can see folders, and they're all unmatched. Let's have a look at the this template. So let's have a look at the template that we showed before. And if we go to help template report, and it's that one there. Okay, so this is the template. When you start a new template, as you know, you've got the option to do pack layout, item sheet, etc., etc. You can do these either as a pack layout, where you'll print one sheet per subject, or more commonly, you will use a fixed size item, and you would be able to gang them up on a sheet. So if you choose a fixed size item, set the size for the actual item, so it'd be the size of the actual shoot card, which this one is 3 by 5, and you just put elements on there in the normal way. And I'm not going to do the whole lot, but you can put @name on there, @ID, whatever else information you want on there, fixed text and dynamic text. Then importantly is the QR. So on the toolbar, we've called it a 2-dimensional barcode because that's its more formal name. Just grab that tool and pop it on your template. And you're probably familiar with that pop-up window if you've ever put barcodes on your templates. Less options here. You encode it the same way. You can encode it with fixed text, variable text, a URL, whatever you like. For our purposes, to match the images to the subjects, we need to put the subject's unique field. So we go /%s @ID, and when we print this one per person, in the QR will be the characters /%s, then their ID. In my case, ID is my unique field. If your unique field is something else, you would put the something else. It is very important that you put in the /%s. Alternatively, you could use key. You could do /%k @key. And that uses their unique subject key. And that's unique across your whole database, not just for the whole for the particular job. So /%k @key encodes their subject key. And people who use iOS know all about subject keys. It's simpler probably just to do /%s @ID, assuming ID is your unique field, and normally that is. There's nothing else for you to do. There's no point changing the colors, and there's no options up there into the barcode type. Simple as that. Hit OK, and you've now got the QR. Okay, so again, make it as big as you can, and I'll show you the completed one. Help template report is your friend for finding templates. Shoot card. Okay, so there it is there, and the QR is nice and big on this particular fixed size item. Then we go to item sheets mode to print them. I'll start that's the example you saw before. I'll just start this afresh and see what we did. Yes, so new item sheet, choose everybody and give the item sheet a name if you want to, rather than the default of all shoot cards. Everybody's included. Hit next. Choose your template. Mine was called shoot card, and then lay it out and you're familiar with the settings there to lay it out on the sheet given the size of the paper that you're going to be printing on. Hit next, then sorting it. Most commonly people sort by folder, the folder name, so that all the shoot cards, all the camera cards for a particular grade get printed together, or for a particular room, particular teacher. And then within there, subject name. So we're going to sort by folder, then subject. All the 6 A's will print together. Within those, they'll be in alphabetical order by name. We can do a page break by folder. And of course, be careful here, unmatched subjects, you do want to include them, because in this case, no one's matched. So we want to make sure we're including unmatched subjects. Later on, if you're printing proof cards or ID cards, you may want to ignore unmatched subjects so you don't get blanks. But we want the blanks this time. Hit finish, and there's your sheet which you print and then distribute. Okay, so we've done that. We've done the photography. Let's import the images and see how it all works. We go to images mode, images, import from disk, browse to them, and okay, here are mine. So I'll just select a bunch of them. We'll take it to there. Hit OK. Now, the option you need is in the middle. Use image barcode information. Notice we refer to these things by 3 different names so far. QRs, 2-dimensional barcode, and here image barcode. They all mean the same thing. They all mean your QR. So having checked that option, which you must do, otherwise it's just importing images. You check that option, you've got sub-options. Only the lead image has barcode, and that's true. In our shoot, only the first photo for each subject has the QR. The rest for that particular subject don't. So the other option, of course, is all images have barcode if the kid is holding it for every photo you're taking. Otherwise, it's normally this one, only lead image has barcode. And then you'd need to decide what to do with that first image, what to do with the lead image. Do you want to import it? I believe most people do import it. People who are shooting QRs may want to back me up on this, but I think most times people will import that lead image because it's in, then it becomes in there with your other images and it becomes a cross-reference to check that everything's okay. Having imported it, do we want to match it or not? And I think my options there are probably the more common. Import it so it's there visually, but don't match it. You can, obviously, if you want to, match that first image where they're holding it to the subject. That's cool. It does mean you may have to take that into consideration for other things in your workflow. For example, if you match it and then you've taken 4 photos as well as that one, so you've got 5 in total, and you want to use poses, if you go auto assign poses, that first image with holding the QR will be pose 1, and you may not want that. So I think most people don't actually match it, even though they do import it. Stacey has said, we do not match it. Yes, thank you, Stacey. So we'll start the import. Okay, and you see the images are coming in. I'll just hide the import window so we can see what's happening. And you can see just from the information underneath the image that it is being matched. That first kid is Jesse, next 2 images are Jesse, 4th image is Jack. It matches it, it's read the QR, decoded it, it's looked up his ID, gone to the data, found that ID, sees that ID belongs to Jack Espinoza, matches it to him, and we just go through the whole shoot that way. It's really as simple as that. We could probably end the meeting now at this point, but there is more I wanted to talk about. For example, I may get asked, well, how do we control what we're seeing on the screen here? Surprisingly, some people don't know this. The image file name, that's easy. You either toggle that on or off in the images menu, Alt-Shift-F to show or not show the file name. Okay. What about the data underneath? That is controlled by tags. At the moment, we're just seeing his first and last name, or last name, first name. What if we wanted to see his folder and the ID? That is controlled by the tags, which you define in details mode, or you can go do it globally in TSAdmin. I'll just do it for this job in details mode. I'll change it so you can see what I'm talking about. Here we go, mode, details, edit, fields, and then down in the bottom of the subject fields tab is as tags. Basically we're saying what we'll do in here is define how we want the subject to be described in different parts of the software, or how we want the subject to be displayed in different parts of the software. And you can see all I've got in there is at last name, at first name, so that's what we see underneath the images in images mode. That's what we'd see in point and click mode in the list of subjects. That's what we'd see in the subjects to include window of item sheets, or in Neo Composite in the subjects to include window when you make a comp. It is controlled by here. If you leave it blank, it will use all the data in every field. It will display all the data in every field. I'll show you that. And if we go back to images mode, see we've now got lots more data. We've got lots of fields with no data. They're separated by comma. Likewise, if we go to, well, for example, point and click mode, the subjects here now are described by all the data in all their fields. So we can change that. We go to details mode, details, edit, fields as tags. I'm just going to put in at name, space. You can put in fixed text as well, for example, copyright, because this text is also used for backprinting, at ID, at folder. Okay, and you can see that's now changed the data under the images there, and anywhere else where a subject's details are listed, it will change it there as well. So this is not strictly speaking QR related, but it's just handy if you didn't know this, or have a refresher how to customize how you want the subject's details to be displayed. All right, so we can stop the import there. Images, import from disk, and I'll stop that. And we'll get rid of this job, and we'll move on. If you've got any questions of this, pop them in the window, and we'll come back to it. But it really is as simple as that. If there's any advice that you guys think other users need to know about, by all means, pop it in the chat window and we'll talk about it later. So, as we saw, the shoot card rules. You can see it dominates this workflow because that's where the QR is. And the size of the QR, as you saw, does not have to be big. Do not panic that you need a big QR in the image, because you don't. Just make sure that A, the kid isn't holding it back to front, because I actually have seen that happen, and B, it's not at a bad angle. It needs to be in the same plane, pretty much, as the camera. And then you encode the QR with /%s at ID, assuming ID is your unique field, or /%k at key. Either of those two things will work, because each of them is unique for a subject. And then only one QR per shoot code. Don't put more than one QR on there, because it will confuse the software. The idea is it sees that QR and decodes it. If it sees multiple QRs, I'm not really sure what it will try and do. Okay. All right. So the other thing you can do with QRs is match images to folders. And sports people, as I mentioned, will do this occasionally. So let me open a different job. Okay, so here we've got a little sports job. We've got some folders, not even worrying about subject data at this point. And I'm going to import, go to images mode, images, import from disk here. Okay, I think you can make out what's happening there. We've got a QR, and then we've got a team image, a QR, and then a team image, a QR, then a team image, and so forth. Small example, select them all, open, same thing, check the relevant option in the images from disk window, hit start, I've got them rotated back to front, the images, but that's okay, we can fix the rotation. And you can see what's happening here. We've imported the lead image and matched it. Then the actual folder image has been matched to a folder. If I filter my view, I will show you. So now I'm seeing only images that match the folder, and that's exactly what they are. And if we go to match mode, you can see the yellow underneath is telling me that those images are matched to the folder, not to a subject in this case, but to a folder. So what do we put in the QR in this example to have an image matched to a folder rather than a subject? Let's have a look at the template. Template report is your friend. Folder QR. Okay. Far simpler template this time for the purpose of this demonstration. QR is in the middle, and it is encoded with /F, F for folder, and @ folder. And we match by the folder name. So there's no unique ID, there's no key involved here with folders, it's the folder name. So /F @ folder will put the folder name into the QR. When you import that image, it sees /F, it says, what's following is a folder name, match this incoming image to the folder with the same name. It's as simple as that. So /F @ folder. Now, if the folder does not exist, it will make the folder for you. And I should have mentioned with the subjects as well, with your subject QRs, if the subject does not exist, it will make that subject on the fly as it imports the image. It'll make a subject with that ID as well. So if the subject or the folders don't exist, when you import them, it makes those subjects or folders. So Sheldon just asked, so do you need to make folders first in the job file? No. If the folders aren't there, and often you won't know what teams you're photographing, you import them, it'll make the folders. Now, some people will make blanks of these. They will have QRs that just say folder 1, folder 2, folder 3, etc., etc. And those folders aren't necessarily even in the job. Import the images. It will create a folder called folder 1, and then you rename it to the team name. It will create a folder called folder 2, rename it to the team name. Does that make sense, Sheldon? Yeah, the matching to a folder is relatively new. When I say relatively new, it's been here for a few years. It wasn't in the initial QR development. Okay, so that's that bit done. Then remember we said there's other uses. I'll show you one other use. You probably can come up with your own as well. So let me open a third and final job. Okay. So here we've now got images, and this is what one of our customers does, who gave me the particular template. We can just select some subjects, maybe select them all, in fact. We have a template called online order. Okay, I'm just going to order that for everybody. And it's a little second chance or a little place your order thing to shoot them, to remind them to go online to our iOS system to place an order. And you can see on this little template, there is a QR, and you can see it's actually quite small. And again, if you've got your phone handy, just point it straight to that QR and see what happens. What will happen is that actually shoots you off to the photographer's iOS site. In this case, it's my training site. Enters the shoot key, and you're straight in the ordering page. So that QR has not been encoded with the subject ID, has not been encoded with the folder name. It's actually been encoded with a URL in the shoot key so that the person can just scan it with their phone and go straight to iOS. You'll want to see this template. So is anybody trying that? If you've got your phone handy, just hold it up to the screen. Again, you'll see what's in that QR, and it should just take you to the website. And people will use the QRs like this in different ways, not necessarily for this example of going to iOS, but it could have your own company website. It could take them to whatever site you like. You can put, as I said, any information you like in the QRs. And unlike normal regular barcodes, you can put a lot more information in there. The data string can be a lot bigger, so you're not going to truncate data. Let's have a look at the template. If we go to Template report is your friend. Help, template report. Out of all of them, I think it's called online. There it is. Double click it to open that template. Okay, so there's the template for Acme Photography. QR is here. Double click on it. And the text to encode. And what we've encoded it with is the website for iOS, training.timestone.com.au, and then the login, the shoot key syntax to get the shoot key in there. So that is one big long string, and that resolves to whatever the shoot key is for that subject and goes straight to the site, opens the site, puts in their shoot key and shows them their images and their order. If you're not familiar with this, go to our website, go to our knowledge base, and there is quite an excellent and simple little document in there about combining your iOS URL and shoot key into one link. And that's what we've done. We've put the link in the QR, and the QR just goes off to the website. I hope that makes sense as an alternative or another use for QRs. Put any information in there you like. And this is an example of what somebody has done. All right, so I wanted to finish talking about QRs and CapturePost. As you've probably imagined, QRs are an alternative to CapturePost, and that is true. And in all honesty, when we introduced QRs, I don't know how many years ago it was now, it cost us CapturePost licenses, but we knew that was the case. On the other hand, people bought the software because of the QRs, so things balance out. I should mention with QRs, you don't need any external software. You don't need any other software to make the QRs, as you've seen, or any third-party systems to read the QRs. It's all inherently supported within our software with no extra charge for it. So it did cost us some CapturePost licenses, especially I think for sports photographers who may be shooting outdoors in less than ideal and controllable conditions where it's not so easy to work with a laptop. On the other hand, school photographers, by and large, are still using CapturePost because it offers other advantages. You see the image big in CapturePost. I'm not going to list them all. You can print ID cards. You can scan orders at the same time, add new subjects on the fly with their data, modified data. You can export the images. If a teacher comes up to you halfway through the shoot and asks if little Johnny has been photographed, you can look him up, show her the image. So there are advantages still of using CapturePost. Of course, the big advantage of using QR is that you don't need CapturePost and you don't need the laptop at all. That said, some people are doing both. They're using QRs with CapturePost, and they use the QR shoot card as an alternative to a barcode scanner and scanning the barcode. So let me show you how that works in a sec. So instead of, basically I'll describe it first. A kid walks up to you, instead of grabbing a barcode scanner, which could fail or could break or get stolen, and scanning a barcode, which may not read, etc., in the same way, you just hold get them to hold the QR. You take a photo of them with CapturePost in the normal way. CapturePost will find the subject and match the image. So it is really sweet. Let me show you. I'll launch CapturePost. Okay, the job in question. Obviously, I'm not going to have a camera and a studio set up here. So I'm just going to use the hot folder approach. I'm going to hit F6, which will take a photo in lieu of a camera. So kid walks up to you, first kid walks up to you, click, take the image. Okay, brings in the image, and you can see it's been matched to, let me click on it, matched to Jesse, or Jared, I should say. And we didn't have to scan a barcode, but we've matched, it found the subject and matched the image to him. And we just keep shooting in the normal way. Take the next shot, click, and that image is also matched to Jared, and you keep shooting in the normal way with CapturePost. The next kid is holding his QR, take the photo, click. Okay, there he is there. And that's now matched to Jack, and we photograph all the kids in the same way. So QRs with CapturePost eliminate the need for the barcode scanner or manually looking up the subject. So that's how you use QRs with CapturePost. So they work together. So with that, I think I've covered all that I needed to. And the question from Whitney, so you still will be able to print the ID cards with this too, correct? Yeah, that's correct, Whitney. It's just it's not replacing CapturePost, it's just replacing your barcode scanner and scanning the subject or looking them up. From there on, the images in CapturePost are there in the normal way. You can print your ID cards, do whatever else you normally do with CapturePost, scan orders, look people up, change their data on the left-hand side there. Can you use this with a SQL file too, or just TNJ? Well, QRs in general will work with TNJ or SQL. CapturePost only works with TNJs. So yes, it works with TNJs for CapturePost because that's what CapturePost uses. For a normal job, the job could be a TNJ or a QR. All right. So I think, yes, that is all I had for you in terms of slides, and I hope you found it useful. It's quite a simple topic in the end, which is why we actually like QRs, because it is ultimately quite a simple thing. We have very limited calls to support it. It just seems to work. Once you know what you're doing, keep your wits about you when you're photographing, as always. It sort of just works.